deal
like
with that.
focus.
Yes.
Um, a couple of things. One, that's a human thing. This is not like it's not. The fact that you're in prayer and the fact that you're in is a good sign. And so don't let that discourage you, because that everybody has to deal with that. There are certain things that that can be done. You know, you need to train your mind to focus. A lot of people can't read anymore because they have that problem. Their mind wanders when they read. One of the things to do is that when you read is to really focus, like keep attentive in your reading. Don't let your mind wander, because the mind is something that you can master. It's not something that can't be tamed, but it's difficult and it takes time. And so, you know, there are things that you can do, types of, you know, tarkeez, ways of keeping focus. The Prophet ﷺ, one of the most important things to do is to be present in your wudoo. Like a lot of people don't do wudoo as an ibadah, they do it as an addendum to their ibadah, whereas wudhu is actually an act of ibadah. And so and Ahmed Zarruq says that the degree of your presence in your wudhu will facilitate the degree of your presence in your prayer. So one of the things, because I did not really learn how to do wudhu until I was with the Mauritanians. Muhebb al Ilm's wudhu was amazing to watch him. And there's actually online, there's a Shaykh Khatri, I think, did a wudhu very similar to Muhebb al Ilm's. But it was an act of ibadah, and he was so present in his wudhu. And so being present in the wudhu is really important. Also doing the mu'awwidhatayn before you go into the prayer. So actually doing the Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq and Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas is something that some of the scholars have recommended to do that. And then just to pull one of the things, obviously, if you're not an Arabic speaker, the Quran, it has its own power just in the sounds. And you know, I mentioned this the other day. Just, you know, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Alif Lam Mim. I don't know what that means, but it's Quran and it's ibadah. And so just the sounds of the Quran have an effect on the heart. And then also doing the prayer on the Prophet ﷺ is very useful. The ulama say to get rid of waswasa is the best thing that gets rid of waswasa is dhikr of Allah, and just keeping your tongue moist with the dhikr, trying to remember. One of the things, and I struggle with this, but I've been for years really trying to adhere as much as I can to what are called the ad'iyat al-ahwal, the du'as of occasional prayers. So the supplications that the Prophet, like when I come into the masjid, Bismillah, Allahumma iftah abwab rahmatika. When I go out of the masjid, left foot first. Allahumma inni as'aluka min fadlika. Like I try to do that every time I come into prayer space. I don't always remember, alhamdulillah, most of the time I do, but I don't always. But just being conscious throughout the day of the things you do. When the Prophet got up, the first thing he did was he made a prayer. It was the first thing he did when you wake up. The Prophet, the very first thing he did, he recited Inna fi kharq as-samawat, Inna fi kharq as-samawati wal ard wa ikhtilaf al-layl wa an-nahar al-ayatan. He recited those verses every morning when he woke up. He'd go out and look at the stars and he would recite those verses. So the Prophet ﷺ, his life was a life of constant contemplation and reflection. And so those are things that anybody can do, but it takes conscious effort. It's just not gonna happen like that. It's work to tame your mind. Some of the other traditions call it the monkey mind, riding the tiger. There's different terms for it, but this is a human problem, and it's been around for a very long time. And we're a very distracted species. We're distracted very easily. Distractibility is a hallmark of just being human, and so learning how to focus is one of the most important tasks that you can do. And the prayer, we forget that the prayer is practice. It's practice. It's something, it's mumarasa. It's something that you do on a daily basis and just try to be present. And I know the difference between, sometimes I've repeated prayers just because I know I just didn't have any presence in the prayer. So it's a problem. And now we have phones going off and ding, ring things, and just very difficult. I mean, obviously there's a lot of problems in our community as a ummah, community as a ummah. And they've been going on for quite some time. I mean, you can probably, you can really see it. It's around 500 years of this decline. And the Prophet ﷺ told us these days would come, and he said the people that would be outliers would be given great rewards for being people that, he said that Bada al-Islamu ghariban, Sahih Muslim, Bada al-Islamu ghariban, وَسَيَعُودُ كَمَا بَدَأَ غَرِيبًا فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَاءِ. And then they asked who were not in that riwayah, but in another riwayah, they asked who were the ghuraba, he said, Islam began as an alien thing, a strange thing. It was strange to the Arabs. And then it became normalized. He said, it will return a strange thing. And then he said, blessed are the strangers. And they say Tuba is a tree in paradise. And then he was asked who they were, and he said, الَّذِينَ يُصْلِحُونَ sunnati ba'dama afsadaha an-nas, those who rectify my sunnah after people have corrupted it. So there's two things that you can gain from that. One, that islah is part of our religion, of rectifying, but also that the sunnah gets corrupted. I mean, one of the problems in our community, I think, is, you have traditionalists that get very ossified, and they hold on to things that aren't really from the religion, they're just from tradition. And so the people, there's another group who sees that and says, oh, that has nothing to do with the sunnah. And so now they reject all tradition because of that. Whereas the important thing is, I had one of my teachers say that if you imagine the religion of Islam a little bit like a massive ship, a great ship, and it's sinking, like what do you put on the lifeboats? What books do you take with you? What do you want to save? And so we have to think about that just as a community. What are the most important things? And the single most important thing after Iman itself is prayer and the centrality of the prayer. And I think we've just forgotten about how important the prayer is as an actual, so many people want to sing songs and do these things and have mawlids and have all, but the prayer is just an incredible act of worship, especially with the nawafil. I mean, the Prophet, he prayed 50 nafilah every single day, because the original prayer was 50 prayers. He prayed 50 nafilah every single day, and it's quite stunning.